The stable's heated marble floors hummed with sterile perfection, their warmth lost on the dark gray Mustang standing motionless in the corner. Natalie Remington's reflection shimmered in the platinum feeding trough. Iris, philanthropist. Lonely woman, 3 identities polished as sharply as her Louboutin boots. Outside, Texas dawn bled crimson over the Remington estate, but here, beneath crystal chandeliers, bought to impress people she'd never respect, the horse she'd named Storm turned his golden eyes away from another untouched meal. His vitals are stable, Miss Remington, the 4th veterinarian that week said, snapping his leather bag shut. But if he doesn't eat soon. His paws hung like the scent of antiseptic. Natalie traced the Italian leather halter, its price tag still dangling. A gift, Senator Harrison had called the Mustang at her charity gala, his politician's grin flashing amid camera lights. A rare treasure for Texas royalty. But Storm's ribs now pressed against his dulling coat, his muscles built for open plains, wasting in a stall worth more than most homes. The vet left. Natalie lingered, her silk scarf slipping as she leaned against the brass bars. Storm's ear twitched, not at her, but at the horizon beyond the hand-carved walls. She recognized that look. She'd seen it in the mirror each morning since her parents' private jet became their coffin. "What are you running from?" she whispered. The Mustang stamped, his hooves echoing through the empty stable. For a heartbeat, Natalie swore she felt the vibration in her own chest. Marcus found her there hours later, his denim jacket clashing with the gilded tack room. "There's someone else we could try." He nursed a coffee mug stained with decades of ranch dirt. "Man named Holt. Ain't fancy, but an unqualified stranger." Her laugh tasted bitter. Qualified ain't the word. Marcus's calloused hand covered hers, steadying the tremor she hadn't noticed. "Saw him gentle a stallion that killed 2 men. Took 3 days." Another crash from Storm's stall. Natalie rushed over, her reflection fracturing in the shattered trough. The Mustang stood trembling, sweat darkening his coat, eyes fixed on some unseen specter in the dawn. "Call him," she said. Holt arrived at sunset, riding a bay mare bareback through the golden hour. No truck, no trailer, just a man fused to his horse, his silhouette cutting through the manicured hedges like a knife through silk. Natalie's breath caught, not at his sun-leathered face or the rifle slung across his back, but at his eyes. Storm's eyes, liquid gold and ancient. "Where is he?" Holt's voice rumbled like distant thunder. The Mustang's scream answered first. Storm pressed against his stall door, nostrils flaring as Holt approached. No fear, no aggression, just recognition. Natalie watched the cowboy's hands, rough but deliberate, trace the nearly invisible rope burn on Storm's cheek. "He's been here before," she realized aloud. Holt didn't look up. Not this cage, the one before. Her designer boots sank into fresh hay as she followed them to the back creek, Storm walking the rope lead like he'd known Holt all his life. Cicadas hummed warnings as the Mustang finally drank, really drank, head low, water dripping from his muzzle like forgotten tears. "Who hurt him?" Natalie asked. Holt's thumb brushed Storm's shoulder where white hairs swirled. "Same kind of men who gift wild things to pretty cages." The truth arrived quietly, like the first drop before a storm. Natalie's phone buzzed. "Senator Harrison? Dinner tomorrow?" As Storm nuzzled Holt's palm with a trust that made her chest ache. "His name isn't Storm, is it?" Holt's silence was answer enough. Natalie's stiletto heels sank into the stable's fresh hay as she watched Holt work under the sterile glow of security lights. The Mustang, Blue Fire, she corrected herself, stood unnervingly still, his golden eyes tracking Holt's every move. The cowboy's hands moved with a quiet precision she'd only seen in surgeons and snipers, brushing over the horse's scarred shoulder as if reading Braille. When Holt's collar slipped, Natalie caught a glimpse of raised rope-burned skin mirroring the mark on Blue Fire's coat. The realization hit like a hoof to the ribs. This wasn't just a rescue mission, it was a reckoning. The storm broke at midnight. Rain hammered the stable roof as Holt spilled Sarah's story between sips of bitter coffee. His sister's therapy ranch, the kids she'd saved, the night Harrison's development deal turned to ash and blood. Blue Fire pressed his forehead to Holt's chest as he spoke, the horse's breath hitching in time with the man's fractured voice. Natalie's phone buzzed. Senator Harrison's 5th unread text that hour, as Holt opened a rusted tin box. Inside lay a photo of Sarah astride Blue Fire, her laugh lines crinkling under a sun that had long since set. "He wasn't just her horse," Holt said, thumb smudging the date on the back. June 12th, 3 days before the fire. He was her partner. By dawn, the pieces fit like a noose. Natalie spread documents across her marble breakfast table. Land deeds, shell companies, her father's looping signature beside Harrison's. Blue Fire's sudden appearance at her gala wasn't a gift, it was a threat, a way to bury the last witness to Sarah's murder in plain sight. Marcus found them there, his weathered face pale beneath his Stetson. Senator's men were sniffing around the east pasture, he warned, nodding to the security feed. Shadows darted through the grainy footage, testing stable locks. Holt cleaned his rifle with methodical calm. "They're hurting us," he said. "Time we stampede back." They rode at twilight, Blue Fire's strides eating up the miles between the estate and the charred remains of Sarah's ranch. Where the creek bent west, Holt dismounted abruptly, brushing thorns from a splintered sign. "Lightning in a Bottle Ranch." Natalie's manicured nails tore on blackberry vines as they unearthed Sarah's ledger, its pages detailing donations from charities Natalie's family had funded for decades. The numbers didn't lie. Her father's foundation wasn't healing broken souls, it was laundering cartel cash. Blue Fire nosed the ledger, his snort scattering droplets on Harrison's smirking donor photo. "He gave you the horse to keep me quiet," Natalie whispered. Holt's silence was answer enough. Harrison arrived unannounced 2 days later, his cologne clashing with the stable's honest sweat. "Darling," he crooned, patting Blue Fire's neck with a hand that had shaken precedents. "I heard he's still spirited." The Mustang reared without warning, teeth snapping an inch from the senator's Rolex. Natalie's champagne flute shattered as Holt materialized from the shadows, his glare sharper than the shards. That night, security cameras caught figures slithering through the hayloft. Natalie reached for her phone. Holt stopped her, pressing Sarah's ledger into her shaking hands. "They want you scared," he said. "So we give them war." By week's end, the threats turned tangible. Natalie's penthouse security feed showed shadowed figures tailing her Mercedes. Holt's weathered saddlebags disappeared from the guest house, replaced by a map studded with red pins. Every therapy ranch that had burned after refusing Harrison's deals. Blue Fire's night terrors worsened, his screams echoing Natalie's insomnia. They found him at 3 a.m., drenched in sweat, kicking his stall door to splinters as if fighting invisible flames. Holt calmed him with a hummed lullaby. Sarah had taught him, the notes curdling when Natalie's phone lit up with an anonymous text. "Some gifts bite back." The fire came on a windless night. Natalie woke to Holt's pounding fists and the acrid tang of smoke. They raced through choking darkness to find the east stable ablaze, Harrison's accident rewritten in gasoline and rage. Blue Fire charged through the inferno without prompting, herding panicked horses to safety as flames licked his healed scars. In the chaos, Natalie missed Harrison's call. His voicemail dripped with faux concern. "Tragic, darling. But at least you're finally free of that troublesome horse." She deleted it, fingers brushing the burn on Blue Fire's shoulder, a twin to Holt's to Sarah's, to every soul Harrison had tried to break. As dawn stained the sky, Natalie stood amid the wreckage, Holt's map in one hand and her father's lighter in the other. The choice crystallized: keep playing the senator's game, or become the storm that ended it. Blue Fire nudged her palm, his breath warm and steady. Somewhere beyond the scorched fields, thunder rumbled its approval. Natalie's penthouse reeked of smoke and betrayal. Sarah's ledger lay open on the glass table, its pages singed at the edges from the stable fire. Holt traced the senator's initials beside a $2 million transfer to a shell company. "He's not just laundering money," Natalie said. Her voice steady now. "He's auctioning hope." Blue Fire snorted outside the floor-to-ceiling window, his breath fogging the glass like a ghost from the past. Harrison's gala invitation arrived at dawn, celebrating Texas philanthropy, emblazoned with the Mustang silhouette. Natalie crumpled it, then smoothed it back out. "We go tonight," she told Holt. "We end this where it began." Crystal chandeliers dripped light onto Houston's elite as Natalie entered on Holt's arm, her emerald gown clashing with his battered boots. Blue Fire stood center stage, his golden eyes dulled by sedatives, a prop in Harrison's theater of lies. "My friends," the senator boomed, "this noble creature symbolizes our commitment to healing." The crowd applauded. Natalie's knuckles whitened around Sarah's locket, hidden inside a microdrive of evidence. Holt vanished into the shadows as she mounted the stage. "Senator," she smiled, mic crackling. "Why don't you tell them how Blue Fire got his scars?" The screen behind them flickered to life. Security footage, Harrison's men dousing Sarah's ranch in gasoline. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Blue Fire stirred, nostrils flaring at the smoke in the video. "Lies," Harrison spat. but Holt emerged from the wings, leading a trembling stable hand, the senator's former driver, who confessed to the arson. Blue Fire's ears flattened, a low rumble building in his chest. Natalie stepped closer to the senator, her whisper cutting through the mic. "You should have killed the horse too." Chaos erupted. Harrison lunged for the mic, but Blue Fire reared, freed by Holt's quick hands. The Mustang's scream echoed Sarah's last night, raw, furious, alive. Guards surged forward. Natalie threw Sarah's locket into the projector beam, flooding the room with evidence: bank records, burner phone logs, the names of dead ranch hands. The crowd scattered like roaches from light. In the fray, Harrison fled to the stables. Holt gave chase, but it was Blue Fire who cornered the senator, herding him into an empty stall with the same precision he'd once used to protect therapy kids. Dawn found them at Sarah's rebuilt ranch. Natalie knelt in the red dirt, planting wildflowers where the barn had stood. Holt gentled Blue Fire nearby, the Mustang's scars silvered in the morning light. "He's ready," Holt said, offering her the lead rope. Natalie hesitated, then removed her diamond earrings, first gift her father gave her after the crash. Blue Fire nosed them into the soil where Sarah's body was never found. Press swarmed by noon. Natalie faced cameras in mud-streaked silk, Holt's hat shadowing her eyes. "The lightning in a bottle foundation reopens today," she declared, Blue Fire standing sentinel at her side. Reporters shouted questions about her father's arrest, Harrison's impending trial, the millions she'd donated. She answered only, "Some ghosts make better guardians than people." That night, Holt found her in Sarah's old tack room. Blue Fire drowsed outside, finally at peace. "You kept her alive," Natalie said, tracing the Mustang's name in the ledger. "We both did." Holt's calloused hand covered hers. Somewhere beyond the pasture, thunder rolled, not a threat now, but a promise. The autumn sun hung low over the rebuilt Lightning in a bottle ranch, gilding the new timber of the therapy corrals where children's laughter mingled with the whinny of rescued horses. Natalie stood at the pasture fence, her hands calloused from months of rebuilding, her designer wardrobe replaced by dust-streaked jeans, and Sarah's old leather gloves. Blue Fire grazed nearby, his scars silvered but his coat gleaming again, a living testament to survival. Across the field, Holt knelt beside a trembling girl guiding a rescued foal. Mirage, they'd named her, for the way she'd vanished and reappeared in Harrison's trafficking records. The sight tightened Natalie's throat. This was the legacy Sarah had died for, the one they'd nearly lost. Senator Harrison's trial dominated the evening news, but Natalie barely glanced at the TV in the ranch's communal kitchen. His smug mugshot played on loop between footage of cartel arrests and her father's plea deal, but the victory felt hollow compared to the letters stacking her desk, notes from families reunited with therapy horses, from whistleblowers emboldened by her testimony. She flipped open Sarah's ledger one last time, its pages now interleaved with new names. Mirage, Dust Devil. Second Chance. Holt found her there, his reflection framed in the window where storm clouds once loomed. "You kept your promise," he said, nodding to the pasture where Blue Fire nuzzled a wheelchair-bound teen. The girl's shriek of joy carried through the glass. Winter came gently for once. Natalie sold the last of her father's shares, the proceeds funneled into a foundation bearing Sarah's name. On the day the papers finalized, she stood at the edge of the canyon where Blue Fire had been born, Holt's silence warmer than any designer coat. The Mustang paced ahead, pausing to stare into the abyss that had nearly claimed him as a foal. When he turned back, his golden eyes held no ghosts, only the quiet triumph of a creature who'd outrun his demons. "He's ready," Holt murmured. Natalie unclipped the lead rope, her breath catching as Blue Fire surged forward, not toward freedom, but into it, his hooves painting thunder across the red earth. They watched until he vanished into the mesa's shadow, his shape blurring with the wild Mustang Sarah had loved. Spring returned with a letter from the state, Harrison's life sentence, upheld. Natalie burned it in the ranch's fire pit, the ashes scattering over herbs Holt had planted where the stable once burned. That night, under a sky salted with stars, she found Blue Fire waiting at the pasture gate. He'd been gone 3 months, but his coat shone healthy, his sides rounded from grazing untamed grasses. He pressed his muzzle to her palm, warm and familiar, then turned to the mare trailing shyly behind him, a leggy filly with storm-gray fur and Sarah's defiant golden eyes. "You old charmer," Holt laughed, his arm brushing Natalie's as the filly nosed his pocket for apple slices. The moment hung suspended, full of every unspoken truth between them, until the ranch hands' cheers erupted from the barn. A teen they'd rescued from Harrison's trafficking ring, a girl who hadn't spoken in 6 months, sat astride Mirage, her laughter bright as she whispered, "Faster." Natalie's old life felt like someone else's story now. She donated the Remington estate to the foundation, its marble halls converted into therapy classrooms, its stables filled with horses bearing names like Phoenix and Rebel Heart. On the day the deed was signed, Holt appeared at her cabin door, Sarah's saddle slung over his shoulder and 2 travel-worn duffels at his feet. "Got a call about Mustangs trapped in a corporate mining zone," he said, the old fire lighting his gaze. "Thought you might want to chase some lightning." Blue fire stamped outside, the filly little storm dancing at his side. Natalie didn't hesitate. She packed Sarah's ledger, her father's lighter, and the first photo ever taken of her astride Blue Fire, its edges curled from the gala night. They rode out at dawn, the Mustangs flanking their truck like living shadows. Behind them, the ranch thrived under Marcus's care, children's art papering the walls where Sarah's ghost once lingered. Ahead, uncharted canyons blazed under the rising sun. Natalie gripped Holt's hand across the console, her mother's diamond ring traded long ago for a simple band forged from Blue Fire's discarded halter. Some gifts, she'd learned, couldn't be bought, only earned. In the rearview mirror, the ranch sign swung gently in the wind, its fresh paint glinting lightning in a bottle, where stories end and legends begin. Somewhere beyond the horizon, thunder rumbled, but this time Natalie smiled. Let the storm come. They'd built shelter enough.